Namaste, everyone, and welcome to our podcast on called Simply Explained. This is Pandit Hardat, of course, bringing you just a down-to-earth, simple explanation of complicated things, regarding Hinduism, society, any sort of issues that have really confused us as Hindus and generally as human beings in our life. And of course, joining me is my son, young Bhuvanashwar, and he's going to be, trekking along with me in this path today as we talk about something important in our homes.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, as we said, we're going to take things from Hinduism and we're really going to try to simplify them and really make them better and understandable for people and really make it easy for people to understand. So today, our discussion topic for today is your altar room. And basically, how we can set it up, what the purpose of it is, and what it can really do to really help us in our lives.
I'm glad that we are actually addressing this topic because the altar is as we call it, or our prayer room, because people call it by different ways, right? Some people call it altar, some people call it a prayer room. And just for the benefit of our audience, we just want to make sure we are addressing the same thing. Some people call it our puja room. So it is what essentially it is and how important it is for us is what we need to know today. And it is important for us to understand the puja room because I look at it as a place that transforms a human being from the human state that we are to a divine state. Now, when we all were born, and the machine that we carry with us to call us human body, it is complex. It is a full-fledged functioning body when it is used properly. When we go to a store, we get a manual for everything. You buy a computer, you get a manual literally to open it, right? You bought a table, or you buy anything else, you get a manual to say which part to put in where. And sometimes we don't even follow that manual, try to fit it up, and then what happens? We are confused all over the place, right? Imagine the most complex thing ever that was created, the human being, this body. We didn't have a manual. Have you ever thought about that?
We basically had to figure everything out on our own since day one.
See, and that's a problem because when we are going to try to figure things out on our own, we are pretty much doing what we think is best, or we're adapting based, on our needs. But the challenge with that is that how do you know whether you're going right or wrong, right? So since there were no manual given to us, we follow different pathways. So as Hindus, and I can only speak for Hindu because I'm a Hindu, and this is considered a show or a program that is a Hindu program, but more so, addressing general topics as well. As a Hindu, when we take birth, we follow a bunch of things like our traditions, our religion, the scriptures, our priests guide us and all that. And in our home itself, we create this one place that we use. We create this one place that we use to really help transform us from this manual-less person to a full-fledged human being. And that's where our altar comes in. Now, going back to our time when we grew up, the altar is a place where, you woke up in the morning and you would never leave the house, without offering prayers. Like we had to literally wake up every morning, regardless of how, where we had to go, school or wherever it was. We had to take a bath, we had to pick flowers, and there was a process. You had to take a bath first, like your cleansing first, and then you had to go pick flowers because it was, Guyana, such a tropical place.
Lots of plants and flowers.
Lots of plants and flowers, and, they were accessible, right? Now, it was beautiful because, you follow the process, and at the end of it all, you see some sort of results. You feel great. So you took the bath, you picked the flowers, you brought it home, And it was very simple things. There was nothing complicated. And that's why we're calling it Simply Explained, because we want people to understand that your altar is a place that should be very simple. And we try to make things complicated to make it look important, but that really is what it is. It complicates the whole process.
It's like it just makes it harder for people to understand because you take something so simple, but you add so many layers of complexity to it, and then people don't really understand something that's so simple because of how complex you make it.
Absolutely. And sometimes we feel that making it complicated, will make it look important, but that just defeats the whole purpose.
It's kind of like how Tosidashi, how he took the Ramayana, but before it was written in Sanskrit, and that wasn't really it wasn't
accepted.
Yeah, it wasn't accepted, or it wasn't in reach of people. Not everyone could understand it. Only the Brahmins could understand it. So Tosidashi basically took that and he rewrote the entire Ramayana so that people can read it and better understand it.
Mm-hmm.
But still, the funny part was people didn't really accept that either because it wasn't, in air quotes, authentic.
Well, yeah, and that is what life is today, right? Something that is complex and something that is like difficult to understand is given a lot of importance.
Yeah.
So in Tulsidas, you're right. When he brought the Ramayana in Awadhi language, the scholars at that time said that you're going to be simplifying such a complex text in a common man language. So but all it is just simplifying things, and that is what we intend to do, and that is what we're talking about today. How do you understand your altar as a place that is simple, not complex, but simple, where you can just be and just stay and just dwell there for a few minutes, or how long you try to spend and transform yourself. Mm-hmm. So going back to this experience, right? So you took your bath, you pick your flowers, you go home, and we prayed in our own way, right? We had our Shiva Lingam outside, most of us. Mm-hmm. So we had like a little post, as we call it, and a little board on top, and we put our Shiva Lingam there. We would go to the river sometimes and bring water. We considered the river that time. People in Demerara, Barbi, Sesikubo, we brought the water from the river. We throw it on the Shiva Lingam because we call it a Shivala, right? So that is where Bhagwan Shiva lives. He has literally no home. He lives outside and everywhere. So we threw our dhar there. That was our Gangajal. And then we went to our altar, and then we put flowers, and people prayed in just how they know to, offering their hibiscus flowers. There were some beautiful, simple flowers, like Madar flowers were available in abundance, and so on. We did our arti, and we started our day in such a blissful way, right? Now, let us talk about that, because a lot of people have migrated from Guyana, Trinidad, the West Indies, even from India. They've migrated and they're living in the West. Mm-hmm. There are more Hindus, by the way, living in North America than there are from the place that we've come from, mentioning the West Indies. So how do we cope with this? How do we actually make our altar in our home a place that is simple, a place that is charged, a place that is really beneficial for you and your family? So let's get right into it. So what we do, first of all, is you create a spot in your home that is, I wouldn't say that is secluded, but a place that, and by the way, there are directions for these things and all that. Mm-hmm. But I don't think we should really bug our people down with that kind of stuff. So the main thing is that when you're praying, right, although God is in every direction, God is in the east, God is in the west, God is in the north, God is in the south. God is up, God is down, whichever direction you look at, God is there. However, for prayers especially, the required direction to face is the east, mm-hmm. right? Depending on how your home is constructed, east may not be possible, so north is also recommended. And then I've seen temples as well where they're built where the murtis actually face the east and people face the west. Mm-hmm. So those are all great directions. There is nothing wrong with it. It is not recommended, however, for your altar, for when you're sitting on your altar, for your altar to be in the west, in the south rather, because if you face the south, that is considered the direction of Yamdev, or the god of death, right? So for that reason, we don't face the south when we're praying. But east firstly recommended, then north, then west. All of them are good. I think what we should be focused more on is our, temperament, on our, emotions, our connectivity with God when we're at our altar, right? I always like to say, an altar can alter our lives, right? An altar can alter our lives, meaning that whatever you go on an altar with, when you come out back, you're definitely going to be a better person, right? So we create this altar facing the east, and if you can, face the north or the west. Then what is it that you put in this altar? Like, how are you going to create this altar?
Like simple things like what mortise need to be there, what platforms do you need to have to support the mortise, what sitting position should we have? Should we be sitting on stools, on the ground? And simple things like these, how can it be answered? And for specific mortise, like everyone goes to the puja store and they see a bunch of mortise and they have the idea in mind that they want to build themselves an altar, but they don't really have an idea of what mortise to buy or what mortise to place in their altar, because they don't know if they're like primary deities to have in their altar, or maybe certain objects they need to have in the altar. So maybe you can help clear that up for people.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about all that. Even to the type of mortise you place in there is a reason behind it, right? So all good questions. So let's start about the setting up of the altar, right? Now, you took your bath and everything. You go on your altar. So the setup of your altar is when you're sitting to face the deities, right? The one that is in front of you. So all your deities are there, or let's say you're going to start from scratch now. The one that is in front of you is always Ganesha. So let me just probably demonstrate here a little bit for the folks who can't see. So imagine you're facing your altar. Right in front of you, there is a Ganesha. Like when you're sitting there, your Ganesha is primary, right in front of you. Now, why is this? The text always tells us, that. Pranamya shirasa devam gauri putram vinayakam. Bhaktavasam smare nityam ayuhu kamarta siddhe. Right? So the first deity we pray to all the time is Ganesha. So what I'd advise you to do is to get a Ganesha, place it in front. You literally, place it on thali or a pedestal. We'll talk about that as well. That is placed first. And after you do your cleansing, you offer your prayers to Ganesha first. And there is nothing wrong with you believing in Shivji, Krishna, Bhagwan Ram, whatever form of God you pray to. You will still have an opportunity to, do that puja. But Ganesha has to always be worshipped first. Now, immediately behind Ganesha, which is at the back of your puja altar, so he's in front of you. When you're looking now at the back of your puja altar, elevated from everyone else, is what we call your Ishtadev. So I'm going to demonstrate that to you as well. So let's say that your Ishtadev is Bhagwan Vishnu, which I have a beautiful form of Lord Venkateshwar here. So let's say your Ishtadev is Lord Vishnu, right? So immediately behind Ganesha, till at the back here, till at the back. So the purpose of this is that when you sit, he or she stands out, right? Stands out, and that is like your center of focus. And when you look, Bhagwan stands out of everything. Anyways, so immediately right at the back of Ganesha, you will put Lord Narayan here, or if it's Ramji or Shivji or so, you put them at the back here. And that's your Ishtadev. And the thing is, who is your Ishtadev? Your Ishtadev is anyone who you are, attached to. When you close your eyes, you see your Ishtadev. When you open your eyes, your Ishtadev. When you call upon your Ishtadev, is the first that comes to mind. And do not open book and try to find out who your Ishtadev is. Your Ishtadev is your primary deity that you worship. So some people say, I worship Ramji, I worship Hanumanji and Shivji and so on. So it doesn't mean, however, that you're not giving thanks and praise and gratitude to the other forms of deities, because they all have a purpose. But the one that stands out in your dreams, the one that stands out when you close your eyes, the one that stands out, when you think of God, the one that stands out when you think of a friend, that is your Ishtadev, right? So that Ishtadev goes at the back, and that's literally the last, kind of like the last prayer we do, like the main puja. Now, among that, it is always good to group the deities, like all the Narayana. So, like if you're going to put the Devis together, you put Ma Durga at the center, right? Ma Durga. And then to the right of Mata Durga, you always put Mata Lakshmi. And to the left of Mata Durga, you put Mata Saraswati. Right? There's a reason for doing this. You see, your altar is a place of energy. Remember, your altar is going to alter your life. It is going to alter your life, your thinking, and this is the place where you go in the morning, to do your puja, your prayers, to really prepare you for the rest of the day. So, the West has taught us that, what the West has taught us, Bhuvan, in order to enhance your day. They say that if you wake up in the morning and you make your bed up, right, it's like you've conquered something, right? And I don't know how many people do that, but they say that you wake up and you make your bed, it's like you have conquered something. So you feel that, this is an accomplishment for the day, right? And please do continue to do that. But our traditions have taught us, in addition to that, that if you wake up and you pray, you make up your bed, you take a shower, and you pray, and you complete 15 minutes at your altar fully, then that really is a sense of accomplishment. It really sets you up for victory, for a lot of victory for the rest of your day.
It's kind of like how the when you wake up, the moment you wake up, the mood that you have, that basically sets you up for the rest of the day. Because let's say you wake up as an angry person, you're going to be pretty moody for the rest of the day. But I guess if you wake up, you make up your bed, brush your teeth, you take a shower, pick the flowers, and you do your puja, you'll basically feel more relaxed and more, I guess, happy in general during the day.
Absolutely. And that is all about setting yourself up for success. That's what it is. Setting yourself up for success. And setting yourself up for success comes with, physical arrangement, how you arrange yourself physically, how you leave your home. I mean, mentally, you leave your home and your bed is not made up and things are all over the place. It's like you're leaving your home cluttered. So that is why our process is like this. Visit your altar in the morning, complete a nice, decent puja, and that really sets yourself up for success in your day. Now, when you go in the altar and you set it up like this, it is important that the balance of energy is there, right? So if you put your Durga Ma here and then you put Ma Saraswati at the back there and you place the Mahalakshmi on the other side, it's like it is not arranged properly, right? Not when you're young. You probably see in North America how things are. In Guyana as well, we were pretty arranged. But you see in North America, like you go in a home, like in our home, for example, certain glasses are a certain place, certain cups are at a certain place, the plates are a certain place, the spoons are a certain place.
Everything's organized.
Everything is organized, right?
Yeah.
So just like back home as well, we had that system where everything was pretty, organized. The brooms were where the floor cloth belonged to a place. The buckets were, everything, because everything has a place. And if everything is not in place, then you are confused. Similarly, you arrange your murtis so the devis are one place. The devis could be either the right or the left of the altar. That doesn't matter, but as long as they are arranged. So Mata Durga is at the center. To the right of Ma Durga is Bhagavati Lakshmi. And then to the left of Mata Durga is Bhagavati Saraswati Devi. This is how they are arranged, Durga, Lakshmi, and Saraswati. And then there are other forms of the Devi as well. Sometimes, basic forms you have to have are those in your home. Then there's Ma Ganga as well. You may have Ma Ganga. That is usually placed as well, either to the extreme left or the right of Mata Durga, because she assumes that position anyways. Now, for the Narayana, you'll have Bhagwan Vishnu, you'll have Bhagwan Ram, you'll have Bhagwan Krishna, you'll have Surya Narayan Swami. So the required way to do this is Narayana is always at the center, because you know why? Because he actually took form, and he became, the Dashavatar.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So Narayana, he is in the center. So Bhagwan Vishnu will be the center. Then to the right of Bhagwan Vishnu, if you want to put them in order, Bhagwan Ram came first, so he'll be the right of Bhagwan Vishnu, like Ram Darbar, for example.
And then would Sri Krishna come after that?
Yes, Sri Krishna Bhagwan is the 8th avatar, so he will come to the left of Bhagwan Vishnu. It's a nice order. We have to have order. Hinduism is not. It's not a scatterbrain. Our tradition is not a scatterbrain approach.
It's not just like a little plaything.
Absolutely not. It's not a toy house where everything is all over the place. And even a toy house is toy room is arranged. We have to keep this thing arranged and looking presentable. So Bhagwan Vishnu is there. Then you have Ramji and Bhagwan Krishna. Ramji Bhagwan to his right, Bhagwan Shri Krishna to his left. Now, then there's Bhagwan Hanumanji. So Hanumanji Maharaj, Mangal Murti, he of course serves Bhagwan Shri Ram. So he's either beside Bhagwan Ram or slightly in front, depending on the size of the murti you have. Sometimes you have a big Hanumanji Murti, and we'll talk about the size of murtis and so on just now. So stay tuned for that. Now, the thing is, you put Hanumanji beside Sri Ram or sometimes in front of Sri Ram, depending on the size. Obviously, if it's a big Hanumanji, you don't want to be putting it in front of Ram Bhagwan.
Or else you won't see Bhagwan Ram.
Absolutely. Then you have your Shiva Lingam. So Shivji, he comes with a lingam as well, which is something you must have in your home. So the Shiva Lingam usually goes beside Sri Ganesha. So, or if Shivji is your primary deity, the Shivji is like you put Ganesha in front, and then Shivji goes on top, and the lingam is right in front of Bhagwan Shivji. That is a very organized way to arrange it. So there's a significant flow of energy there. If not, you can put the Shivji lingam beside Ganesha or beside the Devis as well. Because all of them are closely associated. There are 5 primary deities that one has to have in their altar. Right. Now, what do you think in terms of the number? Like as a young person, do you think that kids are sort of like confused about how many deities we have in our altar?
Yeah, I think they are a bit confused because they know that, I guess, when they have a first glance of an altar, or whenever they go to a mandir for the first time, or for the first couple of times, they always see a lot of murtis there, and they're really confused because they don't know who these gods are. They don't know what like importance that they have, what role they play, and what benefits that they have in our lives, and they don't really know where these gods come from, or they just don't know like who the gods are and what meaning they have in our lives, and where they really come from.
Yeah, you see, I find that interesting because
I feel like whenever they see them for the first time, they think that they're all separate gods.
Yeah, and that's quite understandable, and we have to work every day to try to remove that confusion from their life, because it is when we tell our children that we have one God and then we have so many forms, and the purpose of today is not to tell you about one God or many God. There is one God, but anyways, but what I find interesting, Bowen, is that there is Barbie. There is, how many princesses Disney have?
More than I can count on my fingers.
Exactly. So they're growing every day, right? You got Frog Princess, you got Sleeping Beauty. You have, anyways, so you have all those princesses there with all their long hairs. Then all of them have prince and so on, and and then you have Mickey Mouse, and you have Minnie Mouse, and then you have the dwarf. I mean, you have so many of them arranged, and the average kid in Canada probably has a lot of them, right? The thing is, Barbie is known for her own charm. The other Sleeping Beauty is known for her own charm, but all of them are princess,
Yeah.
right? And what I always like to tell young people is, and I work closely with so many of them, we can't shun them out and we cannot ignore their questions. But I hate to say that look at the deities as your princess, but it is how we should do them. Look at it. They all have their own charm. They all have a different magnet, towards us, and that's the role really, they play.
It's kind of like how Mirabai, how when she was a child, and then she was introduced to a Murti of Shri Krishna, and then she said, "Oh, I want to get married to this man." So then for her entire life, she basically looked at Bhagwan Krishna as her, I guess, her prince.
Yeah.
So that, and then because of that, she built such love for Bhagwan Krishna and developed so much devotion, and basically stuck with Bhagwan Krishna her entire life.
Absolutely. As a great example. I'm glad you brought it up. But you know what the difference of Mirabai was to children of today is that her love for that doll of Krishna, her love for that statue or that Murti of Shri Krishna, I shouldn't say doll, I say Murti. Her love for that Murti of Lord Krishna did not diminish. It did not diminish as she was growing up.
If anything, her love for it just got stronger.
Stronger, right? Whereas today, if I love a Barbie, I'm just using myself as an example. I don't. So let's say,
example.
Yeah. So let's say I love Barbie. As life goes on, as a child grows up, their love for Barbie diminishes.
It's gonna start to you're gonna start to let go of it because you realize that, oh, I'm too old for this.
Well, yeah, and their love for someone else or something else starts to come in, right? So, and I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that's the comparison. Mirabai, in her stage, in her scenario, her love did not diminish for Krishna, and so that's where the difference is, right? So, going back to our altar, when we look at it, we see so many deities and we wonder, you have 10, 15 minutes in the morning. How much commitment are you going to have, or how much commitment should you make to do puja and all this, and what's your level of puja? And that's a whole different thing. Like your puja in the morning, it has to be designed in a certain way where you do the basic, and or you do the required amount of commitment, whereby when you leave very peaceful and you leave very fulfilled. Now in our puja room, there has to be 5 primary deities. We call them Panchadev, right? 5 primary deities. So who are these? They are called 1, Achyuta, or Lord Vishnu. In your altar, there must be a Narayana, be it Lord Vishnu, be it Keshav, Krishna, be it Ram. There has to be a Narayana. First thing, so you put that off on your checklist. So Achyuta, then there has to be a Shiva. So you can have a Shiv Murti and the Shiva Lingam as well. Then you have to have so Narayana. You have Shivji. You have to have the Devi. The Devi, Bhagwati Mata. So you can have a Durga or you can have the goddess, all of them, that's no problem. You have to have a Surya Narayana. Surya Narayana is a must in your altar setup. It just balances your energy in the altar. Surya Narayana Murtis are a little bit scarce now. To have, but I'll tell you about the quality of murtis and so on you should have. So Achyuta, we have Bhagwan Vishnu, you have Shivji, you have the Devi, you have Bhagwan Surya. And also the material these things are made with, my friends, are very important. Keshava, Bhagwan Krishna, very important in your altar environment. Now, what are the materials you're going to use, right? Because these days there is all kind of materials. There is metal, there's fiberglass,
There's like gold, brass, there's like silver.
silver.
Some mortise are like hollow. Some mortise just have like
Yeah.
one side of them. All these different materials. So which one should we really use? And do these different materials have different meanings? Do they bring different energies? What are their significance?
Good question. So it depends on what is your goal, right? It depends what your goal and what your commitment is. At the end of this, people are always going to say, and the challenge with our people is they're all going to say, it's what's in your mind that's what matters, and what your heart feel that matters, and that's important. Now the thing is, if you are comfortable looking at the murti and seeing beauty in that murti, if it's made of fiberglass or plastic or mud or whatever it is, and you find love in it, then that's good for you, right? But there's another level of worship, which is the energy level of worship that allows you to, during your puja, you must you perform certain activities so that there is a certain level of energy in your murti, right? And energy can vary. Now, in my altar, for example, I don't have a single fiberglass or plastic murti. Now, you must have noticed that, because the thing is, the energy level in those murtis are very different. So a lot of people have plastic murtis, the colored ones, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that what you're doing is wrong. I'm just saying that it's for a different reason. You put it on your altar, you put a flower in it, it's good. But when it's time to do abhishekam, like for me, I do a lot of abhishekam, bathing with different scented water, with oils and things like that. That kind of murti is not, will not actually accommodate the kind of work I do, because I'm an energy-based person, and that's who I am. And then, like Hanumanji, for example, our Hanumanji, we have a Panchamukhi, a brass one.
Yeah.
And then there is the stone Hanumanji. So you want to do some sindoor bathing and so on. You want to make sure it wouldn't stain the Hanumanji. So the plastic murtis are not cut out for that. Plastics don't retain energy as well, or fiberglass. They are not good conductors of energy. Now, what is a good conductor of energy? In our system, the Panchaloha, or the murti that is made up of 5 materials.
5 different metals?
5 different metals.
Yeah, okay.
That is great. Brass murtis is most common among us to retain energy. That is most common. Panchaloha is very difficult to get. First of all, you don't get the right quality of it. I mean, we have some upstairs at the temple. All of Pavani Shankar Mandir, if you ever gone to the temple, if you go in front of the murtis, the big murtis, you'll see some smaller ones.
And are those Panchaloha?
All of those are Panchalohas. They are made with the 5 metals, which are great conductors of energy. So it is great for the energy system. So again, I don't have a single plastic or fiberglass murti or whatever they're made with, because of what I do. Then there is your Shiva Lingam, and so those are, if you have a stone lingam, like a black stone lingam or a white stone lingam as well, that's good, because Shiva Lingam, remember, you're doing abhishekam in it. So your whatever you're pouring on it, your juices and scented water and so on, they are meant to retain energy. And your chanting of the mantras, Om Namah Shivaya and so on, the Shiva Lingam is meant to retain energy. So your lingam should not be a plastic lingam. It should be a stone lingam or a brass lingam. I'm going to bring that one over there. Let me just do a little demonstration here. So this one here is, for example, there are different kinds of Shiva Lingam. There is, and I don't want to get into that today, but that's a whole different topic. This one here is a beautiful pure brass lingam with the snake on top, the naga on top. It is beautiful. The minute people see it, they call it a nice decoration, but
that's not what it really is used for. It
is not. But what happens if I see it? The minute I saw this in India, by the way, I fell in love with it, and there's nothing wrong with admiring it as something beautiful, right? Because that's the first stage of falling in love with something. You see it and you like it, right? Now, it shouldn't be used as decoration, but it itself, it's not meant for a decoration, but like anything beautiful, wherever it stands out, right? So this is a brass lingam. It is really great for retaining energies. Your mantras are connected. It's a good conductor of energy. There's also the stone lingam, which is highly recommended as well. Like we have one of that as our primary lingam in the home. Then there is a spatic lingam as well, which I'm going to show you.
We have it on the shelf here that I'm going to bring down.
Yeah, so this lingam is very special, extremely special to me. This one is called Gangeshwar. I think you all know him very well. Gangeshwar, it's a spatic lingam, crystal lingam. So this one was consecrated on the bank of the Ganges. For 54 days, I did puja on it, Shiva Sahasranam at the temple. So it is very charged, it is very much alive, and it is very close to us. So because it was consecrated at Ganga, and my name is Eshwar Harateshwar, I named him Gangeshwar.
It's funny.
Right. So you have to have a sense of connection and joy when you have these beautiful murtis. So this one you can have a crystal and crystal lingam, brass base, anything solid. It is good for your murtis. So going back to what type of murtis you have, I always recommend stone murtis, brass murtis, or panchaloha murtis. Again, stone, brass, or panchaloha, because they retain energies. And there's all other materials as well, which are quite expensive, crystal and all this kind of things. And they're pretty much expensive for us to go into. But basically, this is what you need in your home. Now, what happens if you've been, using your fiberglass or your plastic murtis for many years? Nothing is wrong. Absolutely nothing is wrong with it. Mirabai fell into as you said, she fell in love with an ordinary murti. Markande, when he was praying, he made a mud lingam of Lord Shiva, and he fell in love with that. And that pretty much, when Yamraj came for Markande, he held on to the mud lingam, and Yamraj, even death could not defeat the great devotee of Shiva, who was in love with a mud lingam. So don't get me wrong that, abandon all your plastic murtis and just go get expensive one. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that depending on your level of energy that you require, these things retain quite a lot of energy, and they're extremely beautiful. They require a little bit of maintenance, but they're really, really beautiful. So the setup of your altar again, in front of it, Ganesha, right at the back, your Ishtadev. Then you have the Devis one end, you have the Narayan on one end, arranged in a particular way. And then in your altar room itself, you must have a shank. You should have at least a blowing shank.
Yeah, I was just about to get to that, because it's like you said how you said how a lingam is one of the necessary objects or things that you need in your altar. That's like mandatory things. So are there basically any other mandatory objects that you need in your altar to really keep it alive or keep the energies going?
Yeah. So mandatory things are, as I told you before, the Panch Devata. So Adityam, Gananatam cha, Devi, Keshav, Bhairava. The 5 deities that you need, the mandatory things: Aditya, Surya, Gananath, Ganesh, Devi, Ma Durga, Keshav, Vishnu or Narayan, and Bhairav, Lord Shiva. So 5 deities. Then the other mandatory things you need are your Shankh, which is the bell, the shell, right? So the Shankh is, you need to have 2 Shankh. One is a blowing Shankh, and one is a Shankh for Dhar. The blowing Shankh, wherever the blowing Shankh is, the Shankh, that, by the way, is going to be the logo for our show. The Shankh, which we're working on to deliver to you soon. The Shankh, what do you think? What do you notice when we blow a Shankh?
When you blow the shank, it's usually like in certain steps of the puja. Like for the puja, like for example, it's usually when you're bathing the murti, when you're arting the murti, when you're offering argabati, or when you're offering prasad, dakshana, and when you're doing like the final karpura arti.
Good boy. Yeah. So the shank is only blown at a certain time, right? It is not blown all the time. It is only blown at certain times. The mere presence of now, why you blow the shank, and shank should not be blown by women. Um, it is there's a long story behind that which we won't talk about today. But the shank should be kept in the altar. Its mere presence drives away evil omens, right? The shank, when it is blown, it really creates a vibration. You know, when you're bathing the god, when you're bathing the deity, you blow the shank. Why are you doing that? Because when bathing is happening, remember, when you bathe, you're removing an aura from your body, right? You're removing an aura from your body, and you are allowing a different aura to enter your body. That is what bathing is about.
Yeah.
Apart from the physical cleansing. So you're removing your tiredness, you're removing your sleepiness, you're removing your look, and you are adopting a new look in your bathing. So when that is happening, we're removing the aura of the Lord. We don't want an evil omen to enter our murti. So we're so careful and protective of our Lord, and that is our love, that we blow the shank. We blow the shank, and when we blow the shank, what happens? We blow away all the negative energies. Then when you are arting the deity as well, you blow away the negative energies. So a requirement for your altar is to have a shank there that blows. But you don't have to if you don't want to blow it. Then there is a shank for bathing. This one does not have a mouth, right?
Like a piece to blow into. It doesn't have something to blow into.
No, it
Okay,
doesn't.
okay.
It doesn't. That part is covered. So this one, you place your milk or your dhar or whatever, and that's what you bathe the god with. So that's a requirement. It's mandatory for your altar. Then your bell. You must have your bell at your altar. Agamarnarta Devanam. When you ring the bell as well, it creates a certain sound that chases away evil omens, right? The ghanta or the khanti as we call it. So those are mandatory in your altar. Your altar during the puja, you must have a diya lighting all the time, depending on where you live, or at least a light to be there at all the times. And of course, you have your puja ingredients and all that. I usually advise people to get little, in North America, you can go to what we call the dollar store, and you can get little bottles like this, pretty inexpensive. That's where I got mine. And just like, when you go into the kitchen, you see, the folks will have their spices, like the curry powder will be in one bottle. The
salt would be in one container. The pepper will be in one container.
Correct. And so that's what makes puja easy to do. When you have your stuff organized, that is when you have, all your things organized, like your elaichi organized, your camphor organized, your matches organized, your supari organized, everything is in bottles. You just walk in your puja room and you start your puja. Everything is set up there already. Because it scares a lot of people to go get these stuff all over the place, and that really discourages a lot of people from praying. So I always tell people, go to the dollar store, get your little bottles, fill them up with your stuff, your kumkum, your haldi, and your elaichi, and things like that. So when it's time, everything is there.
Everything is in its place.
Absolutely. At your altar, it's always important to have as well a light at all times, like a wall lamp. You put it in the electrical output. You can have that on if it's safe for you. Again, it's about safety as well. And something to sit on. You asked earlier how we should sit.
Yeah, do we need to be for how we're sitting? Do we need to have do we need to be on the floor? Do we need to have a cushion? Do we need to be in a chair? Where should we position ourselves? And do we need to be higher than elevated, seated higher than God, or below? How does that really work?
Well, I think seating is important. Whether you sit on the floor or you sit on a pirha or a pillar or whatever it is, that is about your comfort level. You have to be comfortable in how you sit. I always prefer sitting flat on the floor because you get. Our yogic scientists told us that that's where your energy level comes from, right? You draw the energies from the floor, and depending on your posture, how you sit in, it relaxes the body and all that.
Right.
obviously, a lot of people, as you know, you've been around, at your young age a lot to see a lot of folks are sitting on pier heads and benches and all that. And I don't want to tell people you can't pray unless you sit flat on the floor, because that's not good.
Because you need to be comfortable, and maybe those people don't have enough. They can't sit on the floor cross-legged because they won't be comfortable.
Exactly. And why pray when you're not comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And you'll see it all the time. You tell people to sit on the floor and they're like, all over the
It's just
place.
going to make people not want to pray anymore because it's not comfortable for them. And then they're not going to like it anymore.
And as well, what will happen is that during the prayers, they're so distracted that, their pains in the knees and all that. So I say sit how it makes you comfortable to sit.
Mm-hmm.
However, naturally, when you are sitting above anyone, right? When you're sitting above anyone, psychologically, what it does, it makes you feel superior,
Mm-hmm.
right?
It's kind of like how I watched a movie. We watched a movie yesterday about how when you have to go meet the Dalai Lama, who's basically like the Pope of like a Buddhism, when you have to go meet him, you have to sit lower than he is because he's more superior.
There's a movie we watched as a family. We have family movie nights, so we watch 7 years.
7 years in Tibet.
In Tibet, yeah.
With 7 years in Tibet.
Yeah. So that was one of the traditions in the Buddhist tradition. If you go visit the Dalai Lama, you never sit, of course,
higher than the Dalai Lama.
Correct. Now, so what happens psychologically when you sit higher than anything, you feel
superior in a way, yeah.
Right. So and let's not even look at Hinduism for now, right? Let's not look at Hinduism for now. Let us go to. You've never gone to a court, right? But if you go to a court, you've seen this in movies, of course. I actually only went to a court once, you know that? And it was not even for me. Now I'm thinking about this. Yeah, I just went. I was here, listening to the judgment passed on someone. Anyways, so in the court, even in the movies, and you see it.
Is it the judge that's higher than?
Exactly,
yeah, the judge is higher than everyone, and everyone has to respect the judge, and they have to like. You have to, if they say objection, they say like overruled. I want to hear what's going on. You can't talk back because
that's
the judge is superior than everyone else in the room.
Yeah, and that's why he sits above. He sits higher, right? Because number one, he is superior than everybody in the room.
Yes.
He is called the judge. He gets to judge you when we're telling people not to judge. He gets to judge you, right? And what's funny about this thing here? We respect that kind of thing, right? Oh, he judged me. He gave me this thing, and anyways. So that's the law, and we must respect the law. So the judge sits above everyone. Everyone that sits below, pretty much. Nobody complains.
No one complains.
You can't complain, right? So that is the psychology behind sitting, right? We always recommend that if you're sitting on a stool even, sit below your altar. Because it is always good to, when you're looking up, in our life we say you look up to someone. It means you literally are looking up.
It's basically symbolizing that.
Absolutely, you're looking up to God, right? And your prayer, you feel as though, that's why the mortis are big and all that we make these days, because there is something bigger in front of you, right? God is big and powerful, we know that, but sometimes it doesn't sink into our mind as much, so we have to create big mortis. And when we look at them, God, you're powerful, you're bigger than I am, right? So always I advise people, don't sit above your altar. And even when people are doing pujas in their home and like yearly pujas and things like that, I've broken that out a lot where stop spreading foil paper on the ground. These are things you should not have in your puja places, like plastics and foil papers and things like that.
Because like it's kind of like how when guests come over, you give them like the most comfiest chair to sit in.
Yeah.
You give them like the best view of the TV.
Of course.
But like all of that changes when you're doing puja. You give God file paper.
Exactly.
And foil paper, and you don't really give them the same treatment, yet they're God and not just a regular person.
What brings me back now to another discussion, we talked about seating, right? So what about the things like in your altar room, in your prayer room, you shouldn't have like plastic cups and paper plates and stuff like that, and plastic and paper spoons and whatever it is we have. It's bad for the environment. That's number one.
Yeah.
Let's use that as a defense. It's bad for the environment. Secondly, as you said, you give people the best when they come to your home, so you want to give your God the best. But more important than all of that, puja is an energy system. Use brass. Stainless steel is not really recommended for pujas. It actually takes away your level of energy. Stainless steel thalis and stainless steel lotas and spoons and things like that. If you can help it, you use it. But if you brass is the thing. We grew up with brass, like the ancestors. They brought brass. Brass is it requires a little bit of work to wash and so on. These days you have a lot of things selling to clean them up.
Remove the stains and stuff.
Yeah, very easily.
Yeah.
And they are very environmentally friendly and all of that. But use brass thalis, use brass lotas, brass spoons. But do not use anything plastic when you're in your prayer environment. So I hope by this discussion that people have a little bit more idea, how to set up your altar. And again, if you have questions, just type them in the YouTube link. And for those who you're listening on Spotify, you can always email me. My email is hardat@rogers.com. Or you can text me 416-454-4986 with a question, and I will do my best to answer, because we want to help everyone make sure that they prepare their life for success. You're setting yourself up for success. Again, your altar alters your life. Your altar helps for you to be a better person. Your altar helps for you to, reinstate some confidence in yourself. And it helps really to trigger that energy that you require for your life and the rest of the day that you have.
Yeah.
Awesome. So thanks everyone for being part of the process. On our YouTube link, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button below. And also there is a bell button there. You can hit that so that when we come on live or when we post new videos, you'll be notified about it. You can download the YouTube videos as well and listen to them any other time, but make sure you subscribe. We also are going to have this podcast on Spotify. So if you want to, for most of you who have Spotify, you can listen wherever you are at your convenience. Namaste, everyone. Pandit Hardat and Bhuvan here. Have a blessed day.
Yeah, have a blessed day, everyone. Sitaram. Namaste.